Hello, my name is Eli Stevens. I am a Headwaters Academy alumni. I'm currently a freshman in high school. I went to Headwaters 1 year ago before the COVID was so oppressive and we were able to actually still travel. And I think to date, the last class has yet to go to Mexico at least. And so I'm here to share with you my experience with that and how I process that trip and how what it gave to me. Starting from the top, I remember waking up crazy stupid early in the morning to get on a flight. And I remember my mother driving me to the airport as she was driving to her workplace. And so I remember just like another day saying goodbye, grabbing my bags and walking to the airport, and all my friends were there, and it was 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were in an airport. My entire class, who was sleep deprived, tired, who had tropical shirts on with cowboy hats and boots on, ready to get on this airplane and just sit for the next 12 hours. I remember our teachers giving us this look of kind of desperation and hoping that we were ready for this trip. I mean, I can say in full confidence that my graduating class was not the most coordinated or organized group I've ever met, but yet we still did it. And so all of our teachers rounded us up like cats, and it was very similar to herding cats, especially with characters like Noah Meeks, who was just total head in the sky. And so all my teachers gathering all these students, rounding them up, getting them on to the airplane, getting them, showing their visas, showing their passports, making sure that everybody has everything, nobody's forgotten anything. And so I remember them herding us through the gates and us waiting at the gate, and Miss Hannah looking over to me, my friends, and she says to me, "I really hope you guys are ready, because if you guys aren't, well, this is gonna go really bad." And I remember laughing it off, but in retrospect, I mean it. If we had not been ready, and if we had not had the education that we did, even today I wouldn't be as successful as I have. I mean, I'm taking advanced placement classes next year, and I'm taking forward placing classes already this year as a freshman, and I'm incredibly grateful for the classes I took at Headwaters. Getting back on point, I remember getting onto the first plane and flying out of Bozeman, which is a very familiar feeling, but not one that I was commonly practiced. Anyways, I remember flying over the Crazies and looking down and seeing the sunrise and falling back asleep. I mean, it was way too early in the morning to be talking to anybody. And so we got on the plane, took like a 3 hour nap, and then woke up as we were landing in Denver, which was actually very good timing. And I remember cruising around Denver airport, talking to family, sending texts and saying hellos to people. Most importantly, I remember getting lost like 30 minutes before we had to leave for our flight. And we had plenty of time, and I mean, we were in an airport in a hallway. It wasn't that hard to get back to the gate. But I remember losing my mind, absolutely going crazy, thinking, oh God, I'm gonna be stuck here in Denver. I don't wanna live in Denver. It's gonna suck. Anyways, didn't get lost in Denver for a long time. Actually got found by a teacher, luckily. Thank you, Miss Abby. Appreciate that. The flight from Colorado to Houston was excruciating. Just because I remember wanting to fall back asleep and just zoning out and just not being able to. And man, I really hated sitting on that flight, just tediously listening to music, hoping that any second I would finally fall asleep. Didn't enjoy that part. anyways, after we landed in Houston, we had a 2 hour layover, and that sucked. Houston airport sucked. But, that was the first time I had Subway. Wonderful experience. 10 out of 10. Loved it. So, I had some blessings to it. Anyways, after sitting around twiddling my thumbs with my friends for about 2 hours, get back on the airplane, yippee, for the longer leg of our journey over the bay. Mind you, it's like 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's getting dark. It's clearly the sun is starting to head down towards the end of the horizon. And anyways, get on the airplane, and we're finally on the airplane when the sun tips over the horizon. And I remember the sun going down, and I remember looking down and seeing lights. And I was thinking, wow, it's very weird. We're not over any city. And for me, this was a little bit of context. I had never seen the ocean. This was the first time I'd ever seen the ocean, and I remember looking down, and my friend Noah, who was sitting next to me, he says, Eli, those are boats. And just the realization I'm actually looking at the ocean, I'm looking at these boats, I'm looking at the sun setting over the water, just hit me. I was stunned. And just such a beautiful scene, seeing the sun go over the horizon, seeing the vibrant colors, one of the better sunsets I've seen to this date, and seeing the lights of the fishing boats blink and dash in and out as they go through the waves was an incredibly beautiful scene. I remember landing in Mexico, and luckily it was cool. And I remember the humidity, and it just hit me, and I looked up towards Miss Abby, and I said, I'm gonna die. This sucks. The first words I said as I landed in Mexico was, this sucks. Which, looking back, is not what I experienced at all. The first day there, if I remember correctly, is the first time that we went to the beach. And this was the first proper time I had seen the ocean. It's hard to describe. It's seeing this vast colors and just vast amount of space I had never even processed was real, coming up from seeing only mountains around me growing up was an incredible feeling. And to actually be able to swim in the ocean was an incredible feeling, and one I cherish very much to this day. My memory is spotchy in and out for the next couple days. I remember going to the graveyard with our guide Felipe, who is an amazing guy. Just such a charming personality, an incredibly informative guy, just a lovely soul all around. And I remember another one of my friends getting a terrible headache, and we're walking through, and I look over to him, and he looks pale as death. And I remember looking at one of these graves, and I say, dude, if you don't feel better soon, buddy, we're gonna be buying one of these for you. And he just, he punches me right in the shoulder, and I definitely deserved it. And funny enough, I remember coming home that day and playing Ding Dong Ditch with our neighbors who were right next to us, with just knocking on each other's doors. And I remember that going on way past lights out. And eventually, luckily, none of the teachers heard us. And this went on for a solid 3 hours. It was such a bad idea, but it was so funny. I remember the return trip back from Mexico. I remember just being exhausted, flying out of Mexico itself, landing in Houston, and getting waylaid for 3 hours and just sitting there. My phone's almost dead. I'm sweaty, I'm hot, I haven't changed clothes, I haven't showered properly in about 2 days. I'm out of ibuprofen, I have a headache. Everything is kind of just terrible, and I'm not going to be home till 1 o'clock a.m. And I remember just looking at my friends and saying, hey, that's not too bad, let's go get some McDonald's. And I swear, that was the best meal I've had that it's ever tasted, ever. I mean, oh, I would give an arm and a leg just to have that meal again. After landing back in Bozeman, I remember my dad looking me straight in the eye and says, "Well, son, how was it?" And I remember giving him just a mumbled, "Yeah, it was great, Dad, thanks," and just passing out in the car. And according to my parents, I slept for at least 11 hours after that. And, looking back, best 11 hours of sleep I've ever had, honestly. But in general, FST is just an incredible experience with incredible people and incredible teachers, and one that I highly recommend you indulge in, and one that you experience, and one you send your kids to experience. It's something that me and my friends still talk about today, and one that I personally, if given the opportunity to, would experience again. And something that I cherish even more, that I've seen that other classes have not gone to experience it. Well, thank you. Eli Stevens signing off.